Hey, how's it going? My name is Isaac Hill, and I'm an alcoholic. I just decided to do this uh, little video thing for anybody that's um, searching for any kind of help on the internet, uh, on the interwebs, um, about alcoholism, and I guess it's just a way for me to reach out um, for anybody that's struggling or anything like that. It's kind of weird starting up something like this because it seems like something I wouldn't do. But I don't know, I get bored sometimes and I just decide to make videos. I guess I like looking at myself. But, anyways, I thought that a good place to start would be just a little bit about who I am. Um, like I said, my name's Isaac. I'm an alcoholic, and I have 9 months sober this time around. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm 28 years old, and I am in college. Um, and I live in a sober dorm to help me with my sobriety. So I do live in a sober community, although it's not anything like a halfway house or anything like that. But I as you learn if you listen to this whole thing, I have a fiance and I'm gonna get married in July. So I do have a really great outlook on my life right now. And it didn't look that way 9 months ago. But a little bit about what happened to me was that I think I've been an addict and an alcoholic since I was younger. I'm not going to sit here and try to describe what alcoholism is, scientifically speaking, or what it's not. I just think that I have the alcoholic traits. It runs in my family. And along with other kind of mental disorders. So when I turned around 15 and 16, just normal experimentation with friends, a lot with marijuana and alcohol as well, but nothing to cause any fuss about. When I was about 21, I think I started to really heavily drink, and it was just kind of the same thing as what a lot of the people I was hanging out with were doing, and I didn't really experience any kind of physical stuff, withdrawal, stuff like that, other than your average hangover. But I think when I was about 24 or 25, that's when I started to physically notice that hangovers were a little worse. I first noticed my drinking was getting in the way when I went back to school when I was 24, and the mornings were the hardest, and I was hiding it from everybody, and a lot of throwing up in public bathrooms, and making really embarrassing trips to the liquor store in the morning. And I was also a musician at the time, and there was a lot of concern from my band members. They knew that my ends weren't meeting very much, and my physician prescribed me Klonopin for my anxiety, and I took it before a show one day, and then I got fired from that band because I couldn't tune my guitar. Yeah, that was a pretty rough time in my life, but obviously it got me to where I am here today. And after that, fall, in the music thing, which was awful because I was collapsing literally in front of people. Everybody knew what was going on with me. I pretty much turned to the bottle until I went to the hospital, and it was a case of pancreatitis, which, from what I understand, I'm not a doctor, is the digestive enzyme that digests your food is secreted in the pancreas, and that enzyme, that liquid that your pancreas makes, gets in places where you don't want it when your pancreas gets infected, and it's really painful. It's like a number 10 on the pain scale at the hospital. I ran into a woman who was around 40 or 50. She had pancreatitis, and she had told me that it hurt worse than giving birth. But like I said, I'm not a doctor, but all I know is that it was really painful, and so in the bigger picture, my life was clearly out of control, and I'm leaving out a lot of stuff, like my trips to the psych ward, attempted suicides, which were for me just like big cries for help. But I am lucky that I'm not dead, because when I did attempt suicide, I was almost at 0.4, so I was really drunk, so I could have done something that I really wouldn't have done sober. And I think a lot of cases, suicides, alcohol is most definitely involved. So I'm lucky to be alive after that. So my life was out of control. I think that was around 2012. It was 2012. And I went to treatment, kind of forced by family, obviously not legally forced, but forced through, everybody begging me and stuff like that. So I went to treatment, and this treatment center was in Albert Lea. I don't know about mentioning names or whatever, but it was in Albert Lea, Minnesota. You can probably find it if you look it up. But I went there. I spent 4 months in treatment, 1 month in inpatient treatment, and then 3 months in halfway house. Or actually, no, it wasn't a halfway house. It was a quarterway house, or a board and lodge area. And it was really great. Those were the first times I experienced hope in a very long time. And I think I have this really cool picture somewhere. Maybe I'll show it sometime. But I remember I was so scared in the hospital room the first night that I was just like, I can't even explain how scared I was. Because they don't, I was so used to getting medication and stuff, and I just resorted to listening to radio and like writing stuff down. I don't know where I put that. I'll bring it out. But it was the first time I kind of experienced any sense of sobriety, probably in 3 years. And it was really cool to experience a steady flow of thoughts again, because being under the influence for so long is is extremely. Sorry, my computer just slept on me. Now my brain's off track. Okay, so I think what I said was to my counselor there. I think his name was Tim. Yeah, it was Tim. He was a great guy. I told him that I felt like my mind was a rock skipping across the water, like a rock skipping across the water, and I wanted it to stop and be able to flow down or sink down. And I just, it was like not being able to relax, not being able to experience any sort of relaxation, comfortable, what do you call it, whatever. And at that treatment center, I finally detoxed enough to the point where like I felt natural serotonin and dopamine, and it honestly was unbelievable. I was still hallucinating from the DTs, so that was kind of weird. But I was listening to classical music, and long story short, I was hallucinating that there was this ballerina dancing, and I knew it was a hallucination, and I couldn't help but see this thing. I felt like I was on drugs, but it was actually kind of beautiful. I tried to write a poem. It's not very good. Maybe I'll share it when it's done, but called Pink Ballerina, is about that feeling I had when I had finally detoxed. And it wasn't just a feeling of being detoxed. It was the first time I'd felt any true sense of sensation that wasn't involved with drugs. Like I finally felt like a piece two pieces were fitting together, and like I forgot that what it felt like to be normal. Like I thought like just sitting down relaxing in a chair like was torturous if you weren't drinking, because I felt that way. And finally my body was giving me like senses of like dopamine and serotonin from just stuff like sitting down. So like relaxation, meditation kind of came finally to me, and it was beautiful. But I digress. So I spent 4 months there. It was really kind of a mental struggle. It was a struggle to continue to keep myself in check. I really had a lot of trouble doing the daily reprieve, which means like if you're in like Alcoholics Anonymous, you've heard this a million times. But a daily reprieve would be like you wake up and reassess what it is you're trying to do in life, so you don't forget and fall down the wrong path. And it was really hard for me to continue to do that because of my ex relationship, which was still really hard. And there were two of them, 2 ex relationships. One really long-term relationship with the person, and then another one that I had started after that one. And I knew I shouldn't have started a new relationship, and so I kind of destroyed 2 people's lives. Or my alcoholism did. I didn't purposely. But stuff like that and the music thing was weighing really heavily on me every day, and it was hard to hold that up. And the holding it up meant dealing with it and facing it full frontal. And so there were days that I got really negative, sad, hopeless, and I guess I worked through it. But the 4 months went by, and I was sober, and I was healthier, and stuff was starting to kind of be put back together. And then right when I got back from treatment, I'm really bad at talking. When I got done with treatment, I didn't listen to my counselor. All all the way through, he mentioned that I shouldn't go back to my hometown and to the apartment, which was above a bar. But I kind of convinced myself and tried my best to convince my counselor, even though I don't think I really did, to well, that's just where I went. And I didn't even make it back to my apartment without stopping at the liquor store. So people say that relapse happens a long time before you actually drink, and that was a good example of how that's true. So I was drinking again, right back where I was before, right in the belly of the beast. And I didn't know quite what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get back and do what my instincts told me, which was to sedate myself. And I think the next day I woke up with my first hangover from after treatment, and it was like a realization about how if I decide to drink, it's gonna be hell. And so I continued to drink, and spiritually it just didn't go anywhere. And I guess I ended up with a DUI a couple weeks later, and I blew a .29, so I was really intoxicated. I don't remember what I was doing, but I had a bunch of Long Island iced teas, and I went to a gas station to get a pizza. So I got pulled over with a large pizza in my car, which I found when I got my car from the lot. There was still a pizza rotting in my car. So I went to jail, and I guess I didn't serve more than a day in jail, and I spent 3 days in a detox place, kind of your basic shit stuff. Excuse me. And my family just started realizing what they were in for. So then I'll just kind of fast forward, get out of jail. I move in with my grandpa, which really hurts to this day. He's still with us, but I put him through a little bit. I was sneaking around. I got a job at a retirement home. I managed to stay sober for a while. And then I ended up relapsing after not very long. And I didn't lose that job. I had to quit because I didn't want to go to work drunk, dealing with elderly people. So then I tried to get back on the horse again. A lot of awful things happened, a lot of confrontation with family. And then one day I just got so drunk I ended up in detox. My family brought me there, just another thing. That wasn't enough. I started drinking again a couple weeks later. Note that all these experiences, I tried to control the drinking, and I don't consider myself a dumb person or somebody who just doesn't get stuff. I really tried my best to control stuff, and I don't know, it just seems like proof to me, not to you, but it was proof to me that there's something that is not in order in my head. So after 10 odd years of trying to control this thing, I just decided to move to my parents' house and stayed sober almost nothing at all. I think the first night I got there, I blacked out. I tricked one of my friends into bringing alcohol over, and ended up getting in a weird, freaky fight with my dad that I don't remember at all. Yeah, it's still kind of hard to talk about. But my dad is an amazing person, and he actually apologized to me for getting mad the next day, which, I don't know. I obviously am very sorry for that, but I'm glad that he understands that I would never want to do anything like that in reality. But, so after that, just same thing back and forth, wanting to quit and then not wanting to quit, getting desperate, not staying with it. But I got a really good job, and that was due to some of my sobriety. And right when I got the job, I kind of considered myself a blue-collar guy, so I could drink. So for 9 months or 10 months, I worked really hard in a manufacturing plant, and there were some days where I was really sick, but I worked through it, and it lasted 10 months before I had to call in sick, and there were times that they were wondering why I was calling in sick. I didn't call in sick all the time, but there were Mondays and Tuesdays where it was because of withdrawal and or hangover, whatever you want to call it. But then one day I found myself in a hotel in Minneapolis on a Wednesday. I had missed 2 days of work, and I was at the end of my rope, really. I ended up calling the Alcoholics Anonymous hotline. I think that's what it was. But a guy named Devon answered, and it's weird to think that that's what sparked this whole thing for where I am right now. But he kind of kept talking to me and showing me that there is a more logical way out of this than getting fired or whatever. So I decided to go to Hazelden after another stay in a detox. Another thing, I guess, was that I don't know, a lot of people don't understand that, like when I say withdrawal, or like they say you mean a hangover, and I don't know, like, I don't mean to like prove that I drink a lot, but I do drink way too much when I do drink alcohol, which was the reason for my pancreatic infection at the age of 24. Usually people who are alcoholics for 30 years, I've heard, are the kind that get pancreatitis, but I got it when I was 24, and I've been told that I have really progressive alcoholism. So when I say hungover, I mean, when I say withdrawing, I experience really bad withdrawals, and like when I detox, sometimes I'd be going through DTs, which are delirium tremors, I think they're called, but it's really heavy hallucinations, and it's, you can't eat, you can't drink, but you're really thirsty, or it's really awful. I guess I don't really want to talk too much about that, but so that's what got me here. I went to Hazelden in Center City, Minnesota, and it's really like a blessing to me that it's so close to my home. It's only 3 hours from where I grew up, and it's been pretty amazing. I just didn't have a spiritual life, and now I'm kind of overflowing with so much. I'm not like uncontrollably flowing with too much ridiculous happiness, like some kind of psychopath, but I just find time to do stuff like this. Like, this is a form of me overflowing with joy. I'm literally kind of so happy to be sober that I'd like to share it with people, and I don't know, to kind of just get nothing in return, just because I just think that I could have used this. But I think I haven't made my YouTube page yet. I don't know. I don't really want it to get linked with some of my other personal life. So that was just my story. That could just be the first of many. Maybe this won't work out. I don't know. Just let me know if you like it. And you can comment or share it or whatever you want to do with it. Whatever. But it looks like I did it in about 26 and a half minutes, so I don't know, whatever. But I was thinking of coming up with some other topics to talk about. I think it's really important to talk about things that people don't think about, being that we're so quick to judge in today's society, go one way or the other and forget what's in between. So I'd love to talk about anything, or I don't know, whatever I can do to help. But thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned. Maybe I'll make another one. Alright, see ya.